Good morning, friends. We are here in very historic part of Kerala. It's Palayoor. It's where St. Thomas, one of the disciples of Christ, known in the West as the Doubting Thomas, arrived in Kerala in 52 AD to this particular location, and he built a church here. It's called the St. Thomas Church, and it has probably about total about maybe close to 7 million people who are all over the world. And the cross you see behind is sort of called the St. Thomas cross. It's got a sort of curvy architecture around the three ends of the cross, which is kind of a topography that was designed from the early days. And this is where the first cross was established, and this is the very first cross that was established, and it is from 52 AD, which is almost nearly 2000 years ago. And Christianity has had a very big root in India. It was established here even more than before even it was established in Rome. Of course, later, about 100 or 200 or 300 years later, it reached Rome, and it's reached the pinnacles of where it has reached subsequently. It is also grown independently here in Kerala, as well as in association with the other churches. And like all churches, has its ups and downs. And it's been pretty quiet community of believers, and they have lived in a collaborative manner with the Hindu and the other religions. They are not preaching against the other religions, and in fact this very shrine here, I'm told, is a former Brahmin Hindu shrine, which is partially maintained in that historical context and was converted. So the people who formed or came to be Christians were from other communities, but they didn't necessarily reject all the teachings that they had from their traditions. It is a collaborative effort that I understand was practiced by St. Thomas. There's a book of Thomas in the Bible, which is not necessarily in the official Bible today, but it's available. And the Thomas Bible, or the Thomas Gospel, has its own independent streak. St. Thomas was the one who was told by his friends that Jesus had risen from the dead, and he said, "No, I will not believe so till I put my finger in the wound and literally experience it for myself." And so when Jesus did appear at a subsequent time, it's told, Thomas was called up to put his finger, and he said, "My Lord, my God," and he was a transformed man. And apparently he took on India, which is probably the most illustrious in those days of knowledge, of spirituality, of awakening, of yoga, of meditation. I'm also told that Jesus and Thomas came together to India at an earlier date. We don't know the records, but there is records of Jesus having come to Kashmir as well. So St. Thomas is supposed to have come to Kerala at an earlier date, and then after Jesus' death he came and basically died in Mylapore in Tamil Nadu, where he was assassinated, apparently, as far as the story goes. And Santom Cathedral is where his remains were buried, or is considered a sanctified place. And we have a lot of things to see here, and there are a lot of famous people from Kerala of this St. Thomas lineage who have been very successful in the arts and in the music world and in the literature world, and as physicians, as doctors, as engineers, as scientists, as architects, as builders, as business people, as teachers. So they are in all professional aspects of life, and of course there are also labor and who are very much involved in keeping India moving ahead in various ways. It is also academically very gifted as well as very focused. Many schools and colleges bear the name of St. Thomas, or many Christian institutions are running operations here who are of indigenous Christian organizations as well. Of course, there has been fusion of the Western church coming into India and taking over control. That happened through Goa, and that is called the Latin Christians. And they are also coexisting in India in a very interesting manner. So we'll go to the other part of the premises here, and maybe you can take a look at the roof and the extension that we will walk over to see. That is St. George, my namesake. Same in the US or in the West or wherever, So this is where Apostle Thomas that is Saint Alphonsa. I think the picture is on the other side. Incidentally, my dad had started a hospital named after Sister or Saint Alphonsa. It was started in 1959. She became a saint, I believe, only in much later. I think in 2002 or something like that. Almost 60 years or 50 years after my dad had started a hospital in her name. It was the first institution that had a name bearing Sister Alphonsa. Today there are maybe thousands of institutions, colleges, hospitals, all with Sister Alphonsa or Saint Alphonsa as the name bearer of that organization. Saint Francis Xavier, who came to Goa, and then Mother Teresa was there, person with whom I had personal contact, and I was fortunate to meet Mother Teresa on about a dozen occasions, and was fortunate to work with her organization, and have had great experience. And I think she's a great noble person who has won the Nobel Prize, and thought about and spoke about religious harmony and peace and love, and she encouraged each person to live the faith that they believed in, that they wanted to live in, that they were born in, never asked, in my opinion or my understanding, to convert from one religion to another. She's a role model for anybody, anywhere in the world. A phenomenal person who lived up to 86 years and died in 1997. I will sign it.
road coming.